Come and catch the vibe. Welcome to Easy Weekend.
It's Easy Weekends.
Cats can't see me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you can see the excitement on my faces. But that means, listen, I enjoy the music talk and shit. That's cool. But this is up my wheelhouse, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I got Brandon Scoop Robinson in the building. We gonna talk some basketball, goddamn.
I like it.
What brings you first and foremost, before you get to basketball, I know that you were supposed to come with Tim Thomas and you guys were going to talk about the podcast.
Which we still are.
Okay, go ahead. Let's talk about the podcast.
No Nonsense with Tim Thomas and Scoop B. It dropped the first episode. We had Stephon Marbury, Brooklyn's own.
Nice.
Playground legend. But Tim and I coming together and bringing it together. We're just bringing friends.
I don't know where I heard it. It might have been Gilbert Arenas, so I don't know how true it is.
Okay.
He Got Game was based on Stephon Marbury's life?
Loosely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Crazy enough, though, I've heard that Spike actually wanted Stephon to audition for the role, and it was loosely based off of him, right?
Why would you make me audition for something that's about me?
Spike is a perfectionist, man. Spike is like, I ran into him a couple weeks ago. Spike is a perfectionist. He is very, 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 I don't want to say sensitive. He's very particular about his whole thing. So yeah, when I heard that, it was interesting
Makes
to me.
sense.
But I look at He Got Game specifically as one of those movies that was both futuristic and or right on time at the same time, because it's encompassing of the life of a high school player, particularly coming from the New York metropolitan area, who is a star. You know, when you play here, you're a star.
Yeah.
You are national. New York is national. Los Angeles is national, and you're playing for the Rail Splitters of Lincoln. That was a big deal, and Ray Allen knocked it out the park.
Oh, yeah. Jesus Shuttlesworth, I thought was Ray Allen. You couldn't tell me the difference. They're the same person to me.
Tomato.
Yeah. Okay, so now the why did you and Tim decide to do the podcast?
I've known Tim for some years. It's for me growing up. I grew up in both northern New Jersey and New York City. I'm a hybrid, if you will.
Me too.
There you go. So
I
for
get it.
me, knowing Tim on the Jersey side of things, knowing what he did with the players, and all the people that came out of the players, and then the fact that Tim is so intertwined in New York and New Jersey with the likes of, and people outside of that, whether we're talking Kobe, playing AAU with Kobe, playing ball with Vince Carter, and more. And to me, Tim and I just clicked. I've interviewed him many a times. I actually started my platform, Scoop B Radio, and he was the first interview that I did. This was back in 2016, and it went viral off of something that he said, and it hit the blogs, and it made it work, and we just had this synergy. I have that same synergy with Stephon, and Tim and I started planning in June. A lot of networks were coming towards him because they're interested in Tim's documentary. And so Tim is definitely a guy that, you know, we talk about New York a lot. New Jersey has to get its just due because there's a lot of guys that came out of Jersey that did their thing. And so we're bringing in friends that we have. Stephon being a teammate of Tim's with the Knicks and them knowing each other since high school. And I've known Stephon since I was 12 years old because I started with the Nets at doing radio with them as a kid. So I marvel and I look at you because my foundations actually came from radio.
Oh, listen, I'm trying to get like you. I want to get behind that TV screen with the NBA something. That TNT. Listen. This is a dream. I could dream though. Anyways,
Dreams do come true.
This was my first dream, so I'm not mad at it.
There you go.
You said the Nets were your first job at 12.
Yeah.
So did you play basketball?
No.
So you were just in basketball, just.
So my background in basketball.
Cause you tall as hell, my G. Like you one of those tall for nothing guys.
I'm 6. No, I wouldn't say that. I'll say that I use my height to my advantage when you're relating to players and the way that I dress. How many journalists you know walk into a studio with a Jeff Hamilton jacket on?
Facts.
Shout out to Jeff Hamilton.
Facts. Okay.
But at the end of the day, you use that to your advantage. I'm tall. I'm black. I speak their language. I've had the best of both worlds, going to Jersey, prep school, and then my family being entrepreneurs in Harlem on my mom's side, and then on my father's side, entrepreneurship in Jersey City. So, you know, there's a huge cornucopia of just different backgrounds, and I come with basketball as my passion. My family, and on my mom's side, on the New York side, Harlem, they my uncle was a commissioner for a basketball league at Riverbank State Park called Citywide.
Oh wow!
And so a lot of people who came out of the city, I was connected with, whether that was Stephon Marbury, whether that was Mark Jackson, Rod Strickland, some of those other people. And then, ultimately, I found something that I love. I channeled it. In addition to that, my family ran and operated two businesses on 125th Street. You know the Whole Foods that's on 125th Street?
Mm-hmm.
We sold that we sold that. We used to own that building.
Oh, wow.
And so ultimately, we had a men's shoe store. And so a lot of different stars who came out of there. I remember being a kid, Dizzy Gillespie would shop with my uncle.
Oh, shit.
I remember, doing sneaker releases with Hakeem Olajuwon and Dominique Wilkins as a kid, and just kind of being around it. So that practice was there. I just happened to get taller, and I know how to write, and I know how to do the on camera thing. But my foundations started in radio, and then started writing, and then transitioned to television, going through the whole gamut.
What was your first memory of basketball?
So growing up, my stepfather's from Chicago, and he grew up liking the Bulls. And he turned on the TV on Channel 4, NBC4 locally, and I watched the NBA on NBC.
That theme music is still iconic to me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that I'm not gonna sing it, but you ain't gonna get me bloopered. But no, in all seriousness, like that NBA on NBC, watching Ahmad.
Yes.
As a kid. For me, I was actually featured on NBA Inside Stuff with Ahmad Rashad as a kid. So he did a whole segment on me, and a lot of kids wanted to be like Ahmad. Yes. Ahmad was the guy next to the guy.
Yeah.
That
was Michael Jordan's best friend at some point. I was like, damn, how he always gets Jordan?
So I'll tell you, last year, I was at Bally Sports Network for 2.5 years as their lead NBA insider.
Dope.
So I over the last, I feel like a musician coming in here talking on Power 105, because I feel like I've been able to travel a lot. I'm off the road and I'm talking to you, but I spent some time in Paris last year when the NBA games were in Paris. The Bulls and the Pistons played, and Ahmad was actually there, and we spent some time just talking on camera, and then I did like a side by side of me talking to him, holding the microphone in Paris, and then the feature that he did on NBA Inside Stuff on me when I was a kid, and it was like a full circle moment. And I actually tributed Ahmad. If you ever look and you see this video of Ahmad Rashad suited up in a Philadelphia 76ers uniform, did you ever see that?
I'm not sure.
It's okay to say no if you didn't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, there was this whole segment, and so people think that Ahmad actually played for the Sixers. It was a segment that he did for Inside Stuff. And so basically he was like suiting up for the Sixers. He's in the locker room with Charles Barkley, and I can't remember who the head coach was, but people actually think Ahmad played for the Sixers. It was a segment. I actually had that jersey custom made, and I wore it when I did an interview, and I wore it, and then I did like a whole tribute for Ahmad. So I did side by side. Like, there are people who have paved the way, just like here at Power 105, Angie Martinez. She made it possible for so many people to just be relaxing and have a good conversation with different people. So, Angie's one of those people that's on my list as far as people that are inspiring, as to as, Ahmad Rashad.
What would you say is the hardest thing about what you do?
The hardest thing about, at this point, or just in general?
In general.
I think the hardest part is breaking in, even with me having an early start. So, when I finished grad school, I went to Hofstra University on Long Island for grad school, and I was living in my grandmother's basement in Jersey City, New Jersey, and nobody was hiring. And so for me, I tell this story often. When I was living in her basement, I didn't have an oven. I didn't have a stove. I cooked on crock pot, hot plate, microwave, and I had a double-door fridge. The freezer side operated as a refrigerator. The refrigerator side didn't work. And I was on food stamps, and was off and on adjunct professoring at a couple different colleges. And I wasn't making steady income. I was at the Source magazine. They weren't necessarily paying, but it was opportunity and exposure. And I was freelancing at different publications. Had a food stamp card in my back pocket, and really just was freelancing all over the place and writing a ton. And I found that the more you write, that gets you more TV and radio spots, rather than everybody who was chasing just on camera and audio. So for me, the constant writing got me the ability to go on different TV networks, get me credentialed to go to games, and just slow motion, but it's still motion. You're not going to always hit the home run or the grand slam in the baseball game, but as long as you hit a single or double, you're still going to get on base.
That's a ball right there. All right, so what's your favorite team?
At this point, I like players more than I like teams, but I'll be honest with you, growing up, I like everybody else, like Michael and the Chicago Bulls, like, and not just saying that, like, because there was a point where he retired, and then I liked the Orlando Magic because Shaq was on there.
So you're like me. You're a transplant because I was a big Jordan fan. After Jordan retired, I fell into the 76ers and Allen Iverson.
I mean, Allen is the legend. I think for me, I mentioned all those previous teams, liking Michael because it was Michael, then liking the Magic because Shaq was there. And then the Nets giving me my first big break. So when I started with the Nets as a kid, this was back when you had Sam Cassell at point, then Stephon became the point guard. You had Kerry Kittles, Kendall Gill, Jason Williams, all those guys. To me, there was a period in time I liked the Knicks because I used to get tickets from my uncle based off of all the grassroots stuff that he was doing in the city. So I say all that to say at this point, there's certain players that I have rapport with, a relationship with. You tend to kind of, you see the human side of them because of what you do and you cover, and you tend to like those guys. I don't necessarily think I have a team, but like I mentioned, in basketball, it was Michael and the Bulls, it was the Orlando Magic, the Knicks, and then the Nets gave me my first big break. Growing up, I liked both the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets as far as local and national. So I mean that's basically it for me.
So who's the GOAT, Jordan or Bron?
To me, Michael is my GOAT because I grew up watching him, but I also feel like the GOAT conversation is a bit repetitive because LeBron doesn't play like Michael. LeBron is more Oscar Robertson and Magic than he is Michael. So I think Kobe and Michael, that should be the conversation more. Unfortunately, Kobe's not here to defend himself. But to me, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he chewed gum, Kobe reminded me so much of Michael. Having spent time with Kobe during his career, knowing his family and more, I've learned so much from them. Kobe's dad, to me, we've developed a rapport over the last 10 years, and had me myself growing up as a child prodigy, and me asking his dad questions about Kobe and what he was like and what wired him. I see so much of similarities as far as what it takes and how you have to study. I've read this book over time called Outliers, which talks about how you have to get your 10,000 hours, which makes you an expert in what you do. And there's so many things that I see in that interworkings that all make people special. And I think that Kobe should be mentioned more in that GOAT conversation with Michael. And LeBron is just his own animal.
How do you feel about the style of play in the NBA these days, the three-point barrage and the spacing? And
I think that it's the Warriors are to compliment. I won't say to blame. I'll say to compliment. We are on camera. But I think ultimately, to me, the game has changed. To me, the game of basketball is more European themed, even AAU themed. Like if you look at AAU rosters, guys where it did, at least I know in New York City basketball, where it talks about wing forward versus small forward, and like it's more Euro style. And so when I look at today's game, I think the European style is the benefit of people who come from overseas. I think that guys like O.J. Mayo and Ben Gordon were ahead of their time, as too were Stephon Marbury, because now you see guys that are hybrid guards.
Yeah,
you look at like
Eric Gordon.
And you see flashes of Stephon in Damian Lillard.
Yeah,
you see flashes of Derrick Rose and Ja Morant.
Absolutely.
So I just think we're in a world where combo guards were frowned upon, I think, in the 90s and early 2000s because the game switched. Like the Jason Kidds, the Mark Jacksons, the Magic Johnsons,
Chris Paul,
and the Chris Pauls and the Steve Nashes were distributing guards. And in today's game, you got to have both. No longer do you have guys that are just specialists. Del Curry was a specialist. Steve Kerr as a player, because you got to say as a player, because some people only know him as coach. Just like you look at Kane and Mace. Today's young kids don't know Mace. Some may not know Mace rap.
Right.
So I because there's young people watching, I want to distinguish that. But Steve Kerr was a specialist. And so in today's game, less specialists, more utility guys that can do some of everything.
Positionless basketball.
That's what it is.
Oh man, I'm lost. I'm in my own world. Y'all just happen to be here just watching. I'm having fun. So who's winning the chip this year? Since I've got an expert here, I need to know.
I'm an expert, but I think that when you look at today's NBA, it's very similar to college basketball in that the tournament is getting ready to start. We really don't know who's going to win it out of those 64 teams.
You're right.
And I think when you look at the National Basketball Association, I think it's similar this year in that, okay, fine, you have the tiers of the Milwaukees and the Bostons. You know that they've both been to the finals within the last 5 years. But then Cleveland is not talked about enough.
The Knicks, baby.
I think you got this expert thing down pat.
I'm sorry.
You took the word. No need to be sorry. You took the words right out of my mouth. The New York Knicks are a success story. We could talk about the Bucks and we can talk about the Celtics, but from top to bottom, the Knicks have been blessed with a good roster.
I was listening to Alan Hahn the other day.
Good guy.
And he was like, the Knicks are now probably a top-tier, well-run franchise. And I was in the car. I was like, the fuck up.
Because are you a Knicks fan?
No, I'm like you. I'm not a fan of any one team. I claim the Nets because I'm a Jersey guy, so I claim the Nets.
But I would say that the New York metropolitan area have either held on to the 94 finals, the OJ chase, and Ewing, Harper, Mason, and any iteration of that for so long. And then our parents' generation saw Clyde and Willis win it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, when is it my turn? And I think that for so long in this region, we've held on to nostalgia. And so now when it's in your face, I don't think we as a metro area we're kind of nervous because we've been here, done that, and then are disappointed. I can't make any guarantees about the Knicks, but I can tell you from what I've watched from top to bottom, you talk about Brunson, but even the inner workings of the Knicks, whether we're talking about McBride, whether we're talking about Hartenstein, whether we're talking about Bojan, whether we're talking about Mitchell Robinson, and whether or not Julius comes back, I think it's given people in this area something to cheer for.
I always said, and I stand firm on it, if the Knicks win an NBA championship, they're going to riot outside like if it was a college town. They're going to turn cars over. You're going to see fires. New York is not going to know how to act if the Knicks win a title. And I firmly believe this.
Yeah, and it's rightly deserved.
And I wouldn't be mad at him.
I'll say this. I went to college in the Philly area, and that's what Tim and I also have in common. We both went to college on the main line. I went to Eastern University. He went to Villanova. We shared the same pizzeria. So going to school in that area, I've watched Philly grease the poles on the lampposts so that people can't climb on them. I don't know what New York has in place because the only thing I remember growing up was the Yankees winning multiple World Series and the Giants, but the Giants still play in New Jersey. So it was always weird to me. There was that duality there, but we all shared in the fun. The Knicks winning a championship to me would be Christmas in June.
Like I said, I'm not a huge Knicks fan, but I would love to see the reaction in New York if the Knicks win a championship.
I mean, but let's be honest, right? I think we can be bipartisan on this. The Nets may have been playing in the Brendan Byrne Arena with Derek Coleman and Kenny Anderson, but we were still paying attention to Patrick Ewing and all the other fixins that were on that team, whether that was Pat Riley, whether that was Jeff Van Gundy, whether that was Van Gundy swinging on Alonzo Mourning's leg. Over the years, we've just seen a lot of we've been. I hope that we are not being hoodwinked and led astray by the success of the Knicks. It would be great for the city, though.
The city needs it.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're working on going forward?
Well, Tim and I have another episode dropping the end of this month. So there's 2 episodes that are dropping this month that we're very excited about. I can't give a name yet. It's done. But you guys will be greatly appreciative of the perspective of this particular person that is coming on. And then Tim is really doing his thing with coaching. He just finished his first year coaching at Paramus Catholic High School.
Oh, shit.
He's a basketball coach, head boys basketball coach at that school.
Oh, congrats to you on that, Tim. My cousin Jesse went to that school.
Really?
Yeah.
When did he graduate?
04?
Okay.
I think. Yeah,
so we probably went to high school around the same time. I went to Don Bosco Prep.
Yeah, I graduated in 01.
Where'd you go?
I went to Pagoda. I didn't
go to Pagoda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my little town.
Okay. Hey, man, give credit what credit is due. Pagoda in the building.
You know what I'm saying? A little B-town, you know what I'm saying? Purple and gold till we die, baby.
What's your guys' mascot?
It's a Buccaneer.
Okay. Tom Brady was a Buccaneer.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways,
but then also, as far as the show, Tim coaching, I have a podcast called Scoop B Radio. We've had anybody from Mark Cuban to the voice of Siri to DJ Khaled to Kobe to a myriad of other people. You can subscribe to the Scoop B Radio podcast on all streaming platforms. We've gone from that whole project was literally a bunch of tapes that were sitting in my parents' house that were sitting collecting dust in a Timberland box. So I had interviews when I was a kid with like Dikembe Mutombo, Scott Burrell, Jason Williams, Kendall Gill, and we digitized those tapes and we built our own domain. And then once we started getting a good response from people, BJ Armstrong was another guy. Oh. So what happened was we digitized the tape, and then we started doing more newer interviews, and it kind of just hit. Yeah.
Dope. Scoop, thank you for coming, man.
Thank you. Hey, brother, thank you for the opportunity to be myself.
Oh, no, listen, I wouldn't ask you to come here to be anything else but yourself.
Yeah. Brandon, Scoop B, all of that.
I didn't get a finals winner from you. Who's winning the chip?
The answer is I don't know.
Got you.
The answer is I don't know. I think to kind of go back to what I'm saying about college basketball, I think there's so many good teams out there. Gone are the days where it's like Cleveland and Golden State every year. Yeah. I think Boston has talent as far as the law firm, as I call it, of Tatum and Brown. Yeah. I think that the Bucks are clicking at the right time with Doc Rivers now at the helm.
If he loses another 3-1 lead, bro, he may not get another job.
But we'll see. But this is what I'll also say. I think when you look at the Western Conference, I still think Denver is a well-oiled machine.
I think and
I think that is the thing that I am impressed with. You hear about the Clippers, you hear about the Sixers, you hear about the Celtics, you hear about the Knicks. Jokic is very talented. He is the modern-day Arvydas Sabonis with a good supporting cast around him.
Yeah. Arvydas Sabonis definitely was the center that was doing everything.
Arvydas Sabonis with skates.
Yes.
Because Arvydas came in his 30s because he was playing overseas.
Yeah.
Jokic came in. He was drafted in the second round during a Taco Bell commercial break during the draft. Did you know that?
Yeah. It was like one of those at the Oscars when they don't show the person that won. They just give you the little thing. That was crazy.
Yeah, well, he showed us.
Absolutely.
He showed us. You talked about Jokic in that regard. Gilbert Arenas was in a very similar situation. He was a second rounder. Mm-hmm. So, you look across the league and you find those diamonds in the rough. But Denver, to me, is a well-oiled machine. I like the Clippers. It depends on their health and if Russell can come back healthy.
Dallas?
I like Dallas.
I think Luka's one of those guys.
Well, I think
you just got to play a little defense.
Here's where I think Dallas benefited. The trade deadline benefited them because they bought in P.J. Washington. And they also brought in Daniel Gafford from the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, big man.
I spent a lot of time in the D.C. area, and he played a lot of meaningless minutes in a Washington Wizards uniform. And now that he's there, he kind of was like a sweetener in a deal coming to Washington that ended up paying dividends. And then you have the biggest hole that they had was the lack of hybrid bigs. And now even Derek Lively, the big man rookie. He was their 10th pick in the draft this year.
Should have went to the Knicks. That was the whole sitting.
Dallas was always going to draft him. I was with him during this pre-draft process, and
Dallas wanted him.
Dallas got him at 10. Dallas got him at 10, and he spoke that into existence. I was like, "Would you like to go to Dallas?" Absolutely. I would love it if I'm there at 10 to go there. But the combination of Lively as well as Gafford, combined with Kyrie, combined with Luka, and others, I think the Mavs are in good position. But P.J. Washington, moving him to the Mavs in exchange for they made that trade with Charlotte. I think that benefited Dallas immensely because they needed a third star. Kyle Kuzma almost became a Mav.
Yeah. Kuzma. Washington just needs to disband all together. There's nothing to it.
Well, I'd like to still get in the building, so I won't trash them. But what I will say is that Washington, whether they decide to move to Virginia, and if ultimately they got a new brain trust in there as far as the front office, they're looking to kind of build around Kuzma, and they're looking to build around a guy named Bilal Coulibaly, who is a rookie. They also have some other pieces there, but Bilal was in the Rising Stars game during All-Star Weekend.
Jordan Poole was, what are we doing with him?
It's a good question. Jordan, I spent some time with him in L.A. this past summer, and he likes it in Washington.
Really?
He likes the scenery, but I think Kyle and both both Kyle and Jordan are in very similar situations because they've both won championships already. So now they're in a situation where they were studying under OGs. Now they're trying to establish their own system there. So I don't think they're in a rush to move around. So like I said, the combination of the draft, the potential of them either staying in D.C. or going to Virginia, coupled with this new regime. You know, their head coach is now in a front office role, Wes Unseld Jr. They now brought in somebody else as the interim head coach. I think it's going to start with the draft, who they hire as a head coach, and ultimately once they figure out the Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma situation. Sacramento and Dallas were both teams that were very high on Kyle Kuzma, and they gave Kyle the opportunity. You know, do you want to stay? You want to go? Kyle stayed. Excuse me. He's very active in the community, and has done stuff in his hometown of Flint as well as in the Los Angeles area where he won a championship with the Lakers. So if he stays and Jordan stays and they try to build something, I think they should at least give it a shot because they've won only about 11 or 12 games this season.
Wow. There's so many. I've got so many questions, but I've got to go. I'm sorry. Last one. Ant-Man, Ant Edwards. Talk to me about him. Thoughts on him?
So I spent some time with him in Minnesota last season, and I tell this story often, and I'll share it with you also. I was walking around the hallway in the back, and I hear him go, "I'm a player." He didn't see me, but I saw him, and I yelled. I quoted Pops from Friday, "You ain't no player." And he said, "Who's that?" He looked and he saw me. We started laughing. I'm happy for Ant. Teams have to prepare for him every night. And I asked Naz Reid, one of his teammates on the Minnesota Timberwolves, if you had to compare him to a car, what car would it be? And Naz said, a Lambo without question, a red Lambo. And he's proven why. The thing that's interesting about that Minnesota Timberwolves team is this. In year one, trying to find that synergy between both Karl Anthony Towns as well as Rudy Gobert took about a year under head coach Chris Finch. But ultimately, from guys that I speak to on that team, it took a year to kind of find those leaks in the faucet and kind of tighten them up. In a world where everybody pays attention to the Lakers and Warriors in every headline or storyline on television or in the blogs. I think it also benefits them that Mike Conley Jr., their point guard, who played with Rudy Gobert as teammates in Utah with him, is now there, and he just signed an extension with that team. From conversations with Mike, Mike likes being there because he's the OG, and because he stayed in Utah so long, he's got a mixture of young guys and older guys on that team that can pay dividends. I think in a world in the NBA, you ask me who I think the champions will ultimately be, I think you still have to pay homage to both the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are not national darlings to people. I mean, Minnesota's cold. Oklahoma, I get a lot of good sleep when I go visit.
They ain't nothing to do with it.
But they play good basketball out there, bro. I mean, LA is cool. Denver's cool. But Oklahoma and Minnesota are playing good basketball, and Anthony Edwards is part of that Minnesota system where they're not afraid to give him the keys to the city because everybody's going to eat over there.
He jumps off the screen when he plays.
Yeah. I enjoy Minnesota. We should take a class trip there sometime. They got a lot of good restaurants over there.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Well, Scoop, thank you again for coming. Let me know how to follow you.
You go to No Nonsense on TV on YouTube, No Nonsense on TV on Instagram, No Nonsense on TV on Twitter. In the coming days, you will see it on all streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Make sure that you also follow me on Twitter at Scoop B, as well as on Instagram at Scoop B. That's SCOOP, letter B. And you can do the same for Tim Thomas. You can follow him on Instagram at King Tim Thomas, and be looking out for all the things that he's doing on the coaching side, mentoring kids. He actually could not make it today because he is a girl dad. He had to be there for his daughter today. I know there's something going on at the school, a daddy dance. Oh. So he sends his regards. I feel like the visiting pastor.
Stop it.
Bishop sends his regards, but Tim sends his regards. He family comes first, and that exemplified it. And I'm glad that he entrusted me enough to come here and represent the team on his behalf.
As far as Tim Thomas, thank you for everything you're doing in Jersey. I know you're a big part of the community, and you coaching them kids over there at Paramus Catholic is an amazing thing. Salute to you, and keep Jersey great.
There you go.
Scoop, again, thank you.
Brother, thank you. Keep shining.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's a sit down. Come and catch the vibe. Welcome to Easy Weekend.
It's Easy Weekends.
Cats can't see me.